Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voice Like a Lion podcast. Today, I have someone that I'm really excited to talk to. This is Bradley Rausch. He is the founder of Level Up Influence, where he works with founder-led coaching and consulting companies to help scale them up and to get the founder out of the day-to-day ops. Because, hey, I don't know about you, but I'm not here to run a high-paying job. So, and he also helps establish a strong organic brand through referrals, which is something I would love to talk about today because it's something that people do or they know about, but maybe they just don't do it well. He is also the host of the Redefining Growth podcast. Bradley, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steven, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited, man.
Hey, me too. Thank you so much. We actually connected through LinkedIn, and this is actually how we're going to start it out because I was doing a little bit of preparation, saw a post that you put up today, and you were talking about how everything we do is a reflection of ourselves. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, man. So I can give you a little bit of context to help answer this. So on my own podcast, Redefining Growth, I take a lot of the, I would say lessons, but also difficulties with personal development, mindset, how it overlaps with entrepreneurship. I think as a personal kind of general philosophy of myself, would love to hear your thoughts on this. Is I think a lot of the personal development, mindset, even anxiety, entrepreneurship advice stops just before everybody gets to the how-to in terms of social media and online and what you see on Instagram, etc. You know, everybody talks very surface level, but nobody gets into the, okay, cool, you want to do the hard thing, you feel really crappy about it, but you still want to do it. How do you do it? Nobody gets into the actual how to do it. And so that's what I really pride myself on with both my LinkedIn content, Instagram, and also in podcasts. And so in terms of what I believe, because I'm not looking at the post in front of me, but what I believe the kind of context in terms of that post is really just focusing on, I mean, nobody else is going to do you better than you do you. And it's like, if you're going to be disapproved of either way. The world will disapprove of you. So it's like, you might as well be yourself and be disapproved versus trying to be somebody else and be disapproved. Because the thing nobody realizes is until it's almost too late is like, you can't, if you're going to become somebody else, you're still going to be disapproved. So you might as well just be, you might as well just be you. But yeah, in terms of the posts and things like that, like you saw this morning, I appreciate you shouting that out. What were your thoughts on that?
So I think, yes, right there along with you. I actually had a guest on my podcast. His episode will come out it will come out sometime next month. But he is a mindset coach. He's written 6 different books. I mean, and the guy's really knowledgeable. And he wanted to bring something up called a mindset shift. So I just asked him, it's like, okay, what is a mindset shift? Or a mind shift is what he called it. And he said, well, imagine you're in a moment and you just think, well, I just don't know if I can do this. And then you shift your mind to say, I can do this. And it's like, okay, that's great. So can you give me an example of how this works? And that was basically the entire podcast. Was he was giving me high level, which was great, but I was pulling him back down into practical because just as well as I do that it's amazing. You can sit there and do affirmations in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm worth $100 million. It's like, but until you're worth $100 million, do the affirmations really work? I think that there is a power that your words hold over you. So if you sit there and you speak the wrong things time in and time out, then yes, of course, it can hold you back in certain areas. And what does that actually look like? I mean, if you're in the moment, and this is something I do with my son even, is if he says, I can't, it's like, okay, hold on. Have you tried first? And then secondly, are you saying that no one can, or are you just saying that you can? Because if the fact of the matter is that you cannot, maybe you can go find someone else who can, and they can help you do it. Because I think that this is where we get stuck. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially early on, is people will say, well, I don't know how to do that. And they get stuck in, well, I don't know how. They literally get stuck in how so often instead of like, well, why am I doing this? Okay, let me understand the why behind it first, and you can find the how. I mean, you can literally, especially now in the day of AI, you can chat GPT, how do I do this? And it will give you exactly how to do it. So if the mindset is, I don't know how to do this, then you're not, in my opinion, and I would love to get your take on this, is that just means you haven't actually applied enough effort to figure out how to do it.
1,000%. I think what this can kind of, I guess, be boiled back to, and you hit the nail on the head. So I was going to bring up 2 things, but you addressed the first one, which is, yes, there is 99.9% of things that anybody would need to make, I would say, 100K a year from self-earned income is easily free, accessible on Google or ChatGPT, one of the two. Like 100% completely, I'm not going to say easy, but simple.
Yeah.
As far as I think what the bigger, to use his word, mind shift is, and I talk about this a lot on my podcast. Something really really passionate about. I get a lot of my mindset and emotional intelligence advice from the Mosies, from Layla and Alex Hormozy.
Yeah,
So something she talks about a lot is you curse on here. So f your mood, follow the
go for it.
okay. So fuck your mood, follow the plan is what Layla says.
Yeah, yeah.
I like to disseminate it slightly differently. My version of that is don't ask the situation to become easier, demand that you become greater. And basically, what that boils over into is to your point about I don't know how I'm doing this, why I'm doing this, getting very lost kind of along the way of like entrepreneurship and it's like that lingering voice in the back of your head. It's like, oh, I could just go find a 9 to 5, or I could just go do this, or like I'm just kind of trudging along the way. Um, so many of the difficulties of entrepreneurship come down to just regulating your own feelings, taking your own feelings, taking your own emotions, and saying, cool, I see you there, but I'm not going to entertain that. Or, cool, I see you there, but I'm going to let it sit there. The analogy Layla uses a lot is like, there's a ton of books on the bookshelf. I get to choose what I read today. The book of me sitting there having a panic attack about whatever, or being a lazy bum on the couch all day, that book is on the bookshelf, but I get a choice of whether or not I get to read that or not. Like, I'm not asking it to go away. I'm being okay with it's there and doing something else anyways. And that can be really, really difficult when you've never done it before, 100%. And I actually made a podcast episode breaking down like how I would do it now, knowing what I know now, and how I would do something that I've never done before, and collecting that evidence when you have none. Because again, I think that's missing from, social media and online, etc. But I think what it really comes down to is just, instead of being okay with the situation being whatever it is, and understanding that whether a situation is difficult, easy, hard, feels impossible, or anywhere in between, it doesn't actually impact your ability to achieve whatever outcome you're looking to achieve. The thing that gets in the way is when you allow that to make you feel a certain way, when you allow the difficulty to make you feel a certain way. Like, a situation being difficult is not innately hard. It's the bullshit we tell ourselves about the situation that makes it harder. And so you get to choose whatever you say about the situation. And so I
That's
think,
good.
I'm a work in progress in this. There's no part of this. Anything that I've said and anything that I will say, I am not standing on a pedestal. Dude, you get me some days and I'm like, yep, yes, example of this, 100%. You get me other days and I'm like, dude, I'm 2 seconds away from bumming out on the couch for the rest of the day. So it is a work in progress, dude. But that's been a huge, huge, huge mindset shift for me, I'd say, just in the last year, honestly.
And I think that because I love the Hormozis, I'm the same way. Listen to a lot of their content. This is the only question that I typically have when I watch either of them is, okay, all of that makes sense, right? Like, you have a plan in place, follow the plan. Because even for me, I'm a strong believer. I just told my wife this yesterday, is you can move no matter how you feel. So there's been plenty of times that I've been working the business and I've been depressed, or I've been to the point where I just want to quit, or whatever it may be. And you can have all those emotions. You can even feel them, but you can still do. And I understand people say, it's like, well, I have crippling depression. And they will say that. And my question is, are you only crippled because you don't know what to do? I think that what happens, and this is my question to you, is when I listen to them, it's like the one thing that they always say is they have some kind of plan. But the thing is, what if you don't? I think that where people get stuck and you start having panic attacks is, one, panic attacks and anxiety usually come from you don't see a way out of the thing. So if life has been this way for an extended amount of time and you don't see how it's going to get better in another extended amount of time, you get stuck and lost, and it's like, well, it's never going to change. And even though it may not manifest in those kind of words, it's what your body feels. So to me, is what do you think as far as if somebody is feeling those feelings and they may not have a plan, how would you help them find their next step to at least get them moving?
I think there's two ways you can go about this. Number one, a little bit controversial, but I think in the right context it can work, is just simply looking at somebody who has what you want, a life you want, a mindset you want, a partner you want, and looking at reverse engineering how they got there. I'm not a big fan, because actually this is a big part of my personal development story, is I've had to come out of the mindset and stop being the person who tried to kind of mimic after everybody. I grew up very much so, very anxious, very kind of panic driven, and didn't have a lot of self-confidence and self-assuredness and self-worth. And so I oftentimes would look at somebody else, you see, fifth grade, you see another kid on the playground being super cool and da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, I want to be cool like them. So I'm going to mimic exactly what they do. That doesn't work, because you're completely saying F you to yourself and to who you are. So not what I'm saying, but I think there is something absolutely to be said for trying to objectively look at okay, cool, this person who has X amount of money or X type of business or makes X influence or has X kind of partner or lives X kind of lifestyle, whatever attribute of that is interesting to you, you take that and you simply reverse engineer it. Sometimes it can be as easy as sending a quick DM and being like, hey, really admire what you're doing, da da da. Can I ask you one quick question? How exactly did you focus on this or do this or whatever? Other times, somebody like the Hermosis, it's going to be super public facing, and you can kind of connect the dots from there in terms of their own story and their content. So I think, you know, looking at the end outcome that you want to achieve, finding somebody who has achieved it or is well on their way to, and looking at the steps they took, and not necessarily then taking that and trying to plug that exactly into your life, but then saying, okay, what part of this do I want to take? And then I'm going to leave the rest. And just kind of making sure you're flexing that objectivity muscle of like, I don't have to do it exactly how they did it, but their path might actually help me with just some context of how I can do it. The second thing is, and this is, I talk about this on LinkedIn a lot. I think the biggest challenge with being an entrepreneur right now, or to be honest with you, just improving your life hacking in any way, shape, or form right now, is the complete dopamine fix that we have from social media and the way that we are entertained right now. Like 99% of us, myself included, don't even have the patience to sit down and watch a TV show anymore. We have to watch a TikTok because if the dopamine hit doesn't come in 15 seconds, we don't want it and we have to look for something else. And so how that boils over into what we're talking about is we expect, I think, a lot of us expect that changing your life, that starting a business, jumping into a new relationship, growing that relationship, growing a business, working on your mindset, whatever, making a change, getting healthy, going to the gym, whatever, it's going to feel, we expect that it feels good. We expect to do the thing. We expect to come home. Like if you go into the gym, you pop into the gym for the first time in forever, you do the thing, you come home, you shower, you expect to jump on the scale and you've lost 10 pounds. That's not how it works. Like if anything, the likelihood that you will actually move the needle at the very beginning is the lowest it will ever be. And so I think detaching yourself from the idea of it feeling good, and again, this is going back to what I was saying, accepting that it's hard. I think we get so derailed and confused and demystified with ourselves when we say, oh, well, I did the thing. Oh, well, I set up the social media page. Why don't I have 1 million followers tomorrow? I set up the LLC and I set up the website. Why don't I have 1,000? Why don't I have 100,000 clicks to my site? I went to the gym and I walked on the treadmill for 30 minutes. Why haven't I lost 10 pounds? Like, disconnect yourself not only from the outcome, because I think that's a little bit easier. Disconnect yourself from the outcome, but disconnect yourself from the feeling or from the expectation that it will feel good. Mm-hmm. And if you can, the longer you can do it without expecting that it will feel a certain way, I think the more likely you are to actually achieve the thing. So again, I think that dopamine thing in 2025 in the technology scene we live in today, I think it works to your disadvantage a lot, unfortunately.
I agree. I strongly agree. This is 1,000% in agreement. The biggest thing I talk about this in business, and I talk about this even in relationships, is unspoken expectations. Yeah. Like, who told you that you were going to be successful in 5 months, in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years? Who told you that? Who told you that you're going to have an amazing relationship with your potential spouse, with your current spouse, just because you are in a relationship? All of these things take intentionality. And that's why, like, to your point, is you have to pick your heart, right? I mean, you could work a 9 to 5 and work there till you're, I think now it's almost 70, and then you could retire. It's like, but that's a different level of hard. So starting a business is hard. Yes. But I think that if you can use technology to your advantage, and I'm 100% not preaching, 100% still working on this, is if you can use it to your advantage, there's so many ways that technology can work for your good. I mean, now with the evolution of AI and how it works, you can streamline a lot of business operations. I had a gentleman on the podcast not too long ago. He owns one of the biggest Amazon agencies in the world, had 550 employees, cut his headcount down by 50 employees, and they're still at the same revenue. It didn't hurt them at all because of how they use AI. So, but the thing that I've noticed, to your point, is because we talk about this, you brought up working out. I love working out. But also, I had this conversation with someone 2 days ago, is you have to find your consistency, right? You got to be consistent in the gym, and you got to be just as consistent at home in the kitchen. Because if you work out every single day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and you go and you are crushing 5,000-6,000 calories of junk food every single day, you're not going to lose any weight. You're not going to gain any muscle. You have to find consistency in 2 realms. And I think that this is where people, like you said, this is a fallacy I've heard from especially startups, is, hey, well, I built it. Why didn't they come? It's like, I expected, I built it and they will come. It's like, but that's not what I've seen. I haven't seen that you build it, especially nowadays. It doesn't matter if you've got the coolest, flashiest billboard, the coolest, flashiest thing. If that's not something that's going to stop them in 15 seconds or less, and really it's like 7 seconds, it has to catch them almost immediately. And then it has to tell a story enough to get them to say, okay, that's really cool. I can see that. I'm interested. Why would I walk in? Or digitally, how would I come in the storefront? So I love that and 100% violently agree with that.
Yeah, I think you're saying, just I'll give you an example of the gym to kind of, I think, hit this home. There's the phrases escaping me right now. I was actually just in the background of the screen here going through my podcast, and I was trying to remember the phrase. It's escaping me right now, but basically there's literally got it. Literally pops up in my head. I've been trying to think about it for 30 seconds. It doesn't have to be optimal to be beneficial. And I think so many, I mean, again, myself included, every single thing that comes out of my mouth is stuff that I have struggled with and fell flat on my face on at least 100 times. So like, that's my, like, yes, I know what I'm talking about because I've effed up myself on this at least 100 times. So that's where we get it from. But, it doesn't have to be optimal to be beneficial. Using the gym as an example, which is, I think, just a great example overall, is, you go into the gym and so many people are like, oh, well, I can't go to the gym today because I don't have a workout plan. I can't go to the gym today because I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing to make the most amount of effort, because God forbid I go into the gym and God forbid I start a business without knowing exactly what I need to do and having a full plan in place and making sure I can make the absolute most out of my time to make sure I get the best results. And I'm like, dude, you got a lot more time than you got results. Like, just freaking start putting in the work. And so I think it's so interesting that this kind of, to use your word, fallacy of like, it has to be optimal to be beneficial. I can't go to the gym unless I know exactly what I'm going to do and I have all my workouts mapped out. I can't start a business unless I know exactly how long it's going to take to make my first million. I can't work on myself, change my mindset, go to therapy, invest in myself and my future unless I know exactly what kind of results I'm going to get. If you're waiting for that, you're going to be waiting forever, because it's not going to happen until you do it. The path does not appear until you start walking the path. And so the word that then comes up from that is practical. So first you find your practical. Go to the gym, instead of asking for there to be this full plan laid out before you and this full, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this and da. Get your ass in the treadmill for 30 minutes and do that for 5 days a week and build yourself the proof that you can do it without it needing to feel good and without the expectation of, oh, I'm going to drop 10 pounds. On the business side, frickin' post on social media for 30 days straight. Give yourself the proof and the evidence that you can actually do that. Because until you have that, it's very hard to then consistently show up and give yourself the gratification of the input and the progress. And so I think instead of trying to spend the effort, the willpower to make everything optimal, just focus on it being practical first. And then once you establish a baseline of what's practical, then you can improve that by 1% every day until you get to your optimal, because your optimal is not the same as everybody else's.
Agreed. So how do you, this is something I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on, is how do you put in the consistent work and release the results that come from it?
Dude, oh my gosh, it goes back to stop asking for it. Stop asking for it to feel good. Like, disassociate yourself. And I do have some like very specific tactical stuff that I can share on this, but just overall, it's stop waiting for the momentum. Stop waiting for the motivation to come before it feels good. Like, take pride. And this is actually one of the tactical pieces. Take pride in the fact that it feels shitty. Like, if it feels shitty, odds are you're probably doing something right. Like, don't try and change the situation in order to make it feel good, or in order to make the business or the fitness journey or whatever. Don't try and change it to make it feel good, because then you're probably not putting in enough objective work and objective effort. Like, take pride in the fact that this is different than what you've been doing before, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. If you were doing the same thing, if it was feeling good, if you were living your life the way you have been this entire time and it was feeling good, you're probably not going to get the results, because you're doing the exact same thing and the exact same inputs. So take pride and relish in the fact that this is uncomfortable, because it means that you are growing in some capacity. I just made a podcast specifically on this a couple weeks ago. And so I'll share with you kind of the rundown of the 5 things that I shared on this, which is basically how to do something before you have the proof that you can actually do it. Right. And this is kind of my ethos, like I said at the beginning, of like, I hate how people on social media and mindset and stuff, they stop just before the how.
Yep.
So again, number one is stop expecting it to feel good, manage your expectations, right? Number two is focus your energy on curiosity and then ground it in your goals. So what this means is that, you know, everybody's kind of heard of like going to failure with workouts, right?
Yep.
You know, you're sitting there doing a bench and you're like, you know, you're at rep 9, you're at rep 10, you probably got maybe an 11, 12, a 13 in the tank, but you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really, really uncomfortable. I've never pushed myself this hard. You have two choices. You could either stop or you could do rep 11, and then you could make the choice to do 12, and etc. A lot of people would look at that and they would go, I know that it's going to feel horrible. I know that it's like they're inside of their head. They're thinking, I know that it's going to feel horrible. I know that I'm going to be pushing myself. I know that it's going to make me really, really uncomfortable. They're criticizing the process and themselves. And so they're like, nah, I'm good. I'll pass. Approach it with curiosity. I don't know what it feels like to go to 11. I don't know what it feels like to go to 12. I don't know what it feels like to go to 13. Like I don't know. I'm curious. I want to know. And then once you actually figure it out, you give yourself the proof and the evidence to say, oh wait, wow, this thing didn't kill me. I'm okay. I didn't explode into a ball of flames when this happened. Like, I can actually do this. Holy shit. Like, curiosity, and then ground it in your goals, and make sure that the grounding in your goals part is looking at, you know, if you have the goal to grow your chest. Like this year, 2025, I'm actually very focused on my chest. And so that is like, I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm using the curiosity to get me further to my goals, right? And so you use it around those things that are important to you to get there. The third thing is to make a contingency plan. Make what ifs for when you quote unquote fall off the wagon, right? You commit to going to the gym, let's say 5 days a week, or you commit to setting aside 2 hours a day, 5 days a week to build your business, something like that. There's going to be a day inevitably where you don't put aside the 2 hours, where you don't go to the gym. Make a plan for when you are objectively in a better mindset, better emotional state, ideally, you know, as you go along before that day comes. Make a plan for what happens, for what you will think, what you will say, what you will try to feel when that time comes. Because if you don't make a plan, if you don't have kind of an if-then scenario or a couple of them kind of whipped up in your head, you're going to be so much more susceptible to whatever shitty feeling you're having in the moment about yourself. Oh my gosh, I didn't go to the gym today. I'm such a fat slob. All the progress I've made so far doesn't even matter. I've already missed the gym today. I might as well just eat like complete shit today, not even care about it. Oh, well, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and, oh my gosh, I woke up today and I didn't go to the gym yesterday and I ate like shit yesterday. So why does it matter anymore? I'm going to keep eating like shit. And blah, blah, blah. You're way more susceptible to all of that. Instead, you can say, cool, I missed the gym today. Is there any way, is there an example, is there any way that I can go fit in even just a 30-minute walk on the treadmill, a 30-minute walk outside? That's way better than nothing. Is there? Great. Is there not? That's okay. I'll wake up tomorrow. Am I going to punish myself today for not going yesterday? Am I going to only eat like leaves today? And like, because like, I need to burn the calories that I was supposed to burn yesterday. And so I can't eat today and I'm going to starve myself. Like, no, just get back on the thing and do the thing. Don't punish yourself for not having done it. Just get back to the consistent baseline you've set for yourself. And so having those kind of contingency plans in place. The fourth thing is telling others about the goal that you have, but not only that, because, everybody can walk around very easily and be like, oh, I'm going to have the next Tesla. I'm going to have the next Amazon. Tell people about the tiny pieces of action progress you're making along the way. Instead of walking up to your best friend and saying, oh, hey, I'm going to start the next Tesla. Go me. Or the next Google, whatever. It's like, hey, I'm going to set up my LLC today for my next Google. Maybe it's for the next Google, whatever, but it's like, hey, I'm going to set up my LLC. Hey, I'm going to post on social media at least 3 times this week. That they can hold you accountable to. That they can come back in a week and say, hey, did you post on social media 3 times last week? That's a very clear yes or no. They can't come back to you in a week or in a month and say, hey, did you build the next Google yet? Because then you're going to be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm working on it. Like tactical stuff, baseline stuff, foundational stuff. Hold yourself accountable to that. And then the last thing is a time horizon. So I think very often we get into this rut of we try something, again, we start it, it feels crappy. Maybe we let that feeling in and we're like, oh my gosh, this feels crappy, so it can't be the right thing to do. Or we get evidence at the very beginning that says maybe we're not on the right path. But let's be honest, you don't know what you don't know at the beginning. You know jack shit at the beginning. So it's like, is that evidence even worth it? But the point is, you get in this rut, in this loop of trying something. It doesn't go exactly how you thought it was or exactly how you wanted it to go. You think you need to rejig the plan. You need to reset the plan. Maybe you try it again. Maybe you don't. Maybe you let that swirl in your brain and just make you feel like crap about yourself. But you try something again, totally different, and you just keep going through this loop and not seeing things through enough. So set a time horizon. Look at objectively, take a minute and say, cool, what is the plan that I would like to follow based on all the evidence that I know will probably get me to where I want to go? right? I'm going to set this plan. I'm going to do this, put this in place. Great. I'm going to put my blinders on. I'm going to give myself a month, a week, 3 months, a year, whatever your time horizon is. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to let myself deviate from this plan. I'm going to follow these set of inputs because I believe, given the information I have, even if I feel shitty along the way about it, given the information I have objectively, it is inconceivable that I won't achieve X outcome in said time frame if I follow this plan, right? You go through, you do the plan, you get to the end of the month or the week or the year or the 3 months or whatever, and then you give yourself permission to take off the blinders, to potentially reset the plan. And you say, did I achieve the outcome that I wanted to achieve? Yes or no. It's a binary yes or no. Did I, didn't I? You did? Great. Set a new plan and keep going. You didn't? Cool. Take the wins that where you saw them along the way, go back to the plan, reset it, change it where you need to, and then do it again. Put your blinders on. And I guarantee you, you're going to get way further doing that versus trying to try something new every single minute when you feel like shit about the process. So that would be, I would say, 5 things you can do to, just to do something before. The way I like to put it is to do something before you have the proof that you can do it, is how I put it. So
That reminds me of, this was years ago now. It's funny we're talking about bench press and chest and all that, because that to me was one of the areas I was weakest in. My dad, he was always my hero growing up. He used to be a power lifter, just super strong guy. And I remember very well that on my workout journey, it's like, oh, I want to be strong too. And eventually I was doing bench press. It's completely wrong, hurt myself. But then I remember I started figuring it out. This is why I said, if you get stuck in I don't know how to, you just really haven't tried. Because after I hurt myself, I just went and I started watching videos of people benching 600 pounds. And I went, obviously they have to know how to do it right, or they would just be destroying themselves. So then I would just, to your point earlier, is reverse engineer that. And I remember I asked my dad, it's like, hey, what's your 1 rep max? And his 1 rep max of all time was 365 pounds on the bench. And my parents always told me that I would never have a strong chest because of I was born, my chest is a little bit concave. And I went, and I used to believe that for such a long time. So on my journey, I remember very, very well, I still have the marks to prove it, that there was a point in time where I'm sitting there and I'm benching, and it's one of those moments where I don't know how this is going to feel, but I'm curious, how is this going to go? And it's probably, I don't know, 335, 345 on the bar. So I'm not even to what my dad's 1 rep max was at the time. And I just remember feeling my chest just tear. And I thought, well, I've just blown a pec. It's over. But that wasn't the truth. I pushed myself beyond what I thought was possible. And what happened was I got these really gnarly stretch marks, but it didn't keep me from continuing. And this is why I think mindset is so powerful, because the day that I tried to beat my dad's 1 rep max, so the day I did it, 365, I did it. Then I just put 5 extra pounds per side, so I went to 375. And I thought we unrack it. So my wife was with me on this whole journey, and I'm bring it all together with what you were saying. Is we unrack it and I black out with 375 in the air. Luckily, I didn't die. And funny enough, the gym manager was like, "Hey, man, put some collars on that." It's like, "Were you going to dump the weight or something?" It's like, "Well, I could have died." But then I just told her, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at her, and she was freaking out. And I said, "Look, I'm going to try it again." It's like, 'cause I'm going to do this. And I did 375 and I hit it. And so now I beat my dad's all-time rep max. But what I found was after that is I followed the plan. So I had to understand that it's like, I'm not, because it wasn't ego lifting where, one day I did 315, the next day I'm doing 375. That's even if you can, your risk, it's like the risk to reward ratio is just not there. The risk to injury ratio is just crazy. And so for me, as I knew, hey, I've got maybe 3 to 4 times a year that I'm actually going to max out. So what does this look like? Okay, so it looks like I'm going to do this amount of reps in this section. So I'm going to do a month, like to your point, do a month like this of this kind of rep cycle. Then I'm going to do a heavier weight, less reps in this second month. And then the third month, I'm literally just going to be sitting there getting the heaviest amount of weight and just holding it out over myself or putting on my back if I'm doing a squat. I'm not even going to try to squat it. I'm just wanting my central nervous system to get used to what it feels like. So, I mean, this is what you're talking about with business is sometimes you just have to put the work in to understand, what does this even feel like? Because our definition of hard is relative, because your definition of hard is going to be way different than my definition of hard. We could be doing the same thing. But if I'm saying, man, doing reach outs is hard. It's like you're doing 20. It's like, and you're like, oh, no, man, reach outs aren't that bad. And you're doing 2,000. It's like, okay, you're doing 1,000x input. But the reason why I think it's hard is because maybe I'm too busy trying to track the outputs. I'm too busy trying to track. It's like, okay, how much is coming into this? It's like, oh, how many leads did I get? How many closes did I get? It's like, I didn't get any out of 20. I'm done. And instead of following the plan, it's like, well, maybe we just scale this up. Maybe I just haven't gotten enough volume. So it's like, even to what we were talking about earlier with the Hormozes, I really enjoy is more, better, different. So for me, it's like, do you just need to do more? Has it worked at all ever? If it has, or if it has it worked for anyone ever? If the answer is yes, then maybe you just need to do more. And then if you do a whole bunch more, and I would also just like throw in one other thing is maybe you should track that too. Just do some data analysis along the way. But then if you're tracking it and this thing is working kind of, then just do more. And then secondly is once you're doing more, then do it better. And if you can, and if neither of those things work, then you do something different. But even to their point and to your point too, is I would be hard pressed to imagine that if you do more of something that has worked for you or for someone else, and you're doing it better and actually tracking the things that you're changing, similarly to when I run paid marketing and I've done it for my brands and other people's brands, is if you're not tracking anything and something works, you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep running this because obviously it works. But then what happens when it stops working? You don't know why it worked in the first place. So you can't do any better and you can't do any more because you're just going to keep trying more things that are similar, but you don't actually know what works. Was it the video? Was it the copy? Was it the offer? And so this is to your point is do it over a long enough time horizon, track it, be consistent with it. Yeah, I love all that. I think that's really good.
Yeah, no, and to echo your point about everything being relative, 100%. There's this saying I love to use, which is when you do hard things often enough, everything becomes easy, even hard, right? And like the analogy I always give is like it's like hot and cold shower, right? When you get in the shower and the water's warm, what do you have to do? You have to keep turning up the temperature every couple of minutes for it to actually feel warm on your skin. When you get in the shower and the water's cold, what happens? It feels like shit at first, but then your body acclimates to it. You don't change the temperature. You don't make it any colder or any warmer, but your body acclimates to it, and it doesn't feel as cold in 30 seconds in a minute, and then you're able to sit in there for however long you need. So when you do hard things often, everything becomes easy. And I think just acclimating yourself to that and kind of slowly moving up what your relative quote unquote hard level is, moving that up, I think is just as a big a hack as you can get.
That's amazing. So Bradley, as we come to the end of our time, what is, if somebody was looking to connect with you with your content, because this has been incredible, especially with the mindset stuff. I know that for a minute we wanted to talk about referrals, but I think that this is exactly how it needed to be. If for no one else, at least for me, I got free coaching out of this. But so if somebody wants to connect with you with your content, where do they go?
LinkedIn and my podcast. So LinkedIn is just Bradley Rausch, Rausch, and podcast is Redefining Growth. About 20, I think I just did episode 28 or 29. So getting there, putting the reps on that. But that's just a huge passion project of mine. Talk a lot about this type of stuff, actually, specifically a little bit of business, but mostly mindset and personal development. And hoping to be doing some speaking within the next year or two. So,
oh, nice, amazing. And for everyone listening, and you're going, okay, how do I spell that? It's in the comments. Don't worry about it. We'll have it in the comments. We'll make sure to have it in the description. You're good. Just click on the link. We'll make sure he has that the LinkedIn's in there. Make sure that the podcast is in there. Please go listen to him. If you've made it this far, obviously you've gotten value out of it. So make sure to go connect with him. Make sure to follow along with his content, comment. Let's get this thing in the algorithm so he can just continue to grow the influence that he has. I mean, we're trying to level up his influence too. So thank you again, Bradley, for being with us today.
Hey, thank you so much, man. Really enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
And for everyone else, we'll see you guys in the next episode.